The county clerk looked at me with the kind of sympathy no farmer ever wants to see. "Mr. Walker, according to our records, your farm was legally transferred 3 days ago." I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was impossible. "My farm has been in my family for 94 years, I said quietly. "Nobody can sell it except me." She turned her monitor toward me. There it is. My address, my property number, my land. Status, sold. The room suddenly felt smaller. I never signed anything. The clerk frowned. The closing documents contain a power of attorney. Power of attorney. Only one person had access to those papers. My grandson, Ethan. For nearly 3 years, I trusted him with every bill, every bank statement, every piece of paperwork after my eyesight began failing. Not once had I questioned him. Not once. I thanked the clerk, folded the documents, and drove home. The gravel road leading to my farm had never felt so long. Every fence post carried a memory. Every acre held a piece of my life. That land wasn't just property. It was where I buried my wife beneath the old maple tree after she asked me never to leave the farm she loved. It was where my son learned to ride a horse. It was where Ethan took his first steps while chasing newborn calves through the pasture. I had given that boy everything. After his parents died in a highway accident, I became his whole world. I packed his school lunches. I sat through every baseball game. I worked 18-hour days so he could attend the university he dreamed about. When tuition doubled during his 3rd year, I sold my prize Angus bulls without telling him. He graduated debt-free. The day he hugged me outside the university, he whispered, "I'll spend the rest of my life making you proud." I believed him. God help me. I believed every word. As I turned into my driveway, something felt wrong. A moving truck, then another. Strangers carried furniture through my front door. My late wife's piano rolled down the porch on heavy straps. An old rocking chair followed, the same chair where she'd knitted blankets for Ethan every winter. I slammed my truck into park and climbed out. "What are you doing?" Nobody answered. One mover looked toward the porch. That's when I saw Ethan. He stood there wearing a pressed blue shirt, one hand in his pocket. Beside him stood his wife, Claire, smiling as if today were a celebration. She waved. "Oh, perfect. You're home." I looked at Ethan. "Tell me this isn't happening." He lowered his eyes for only a second. "Grandpa, we didn't want you finding out like this." My chest tightened. "So it's true." Claire answered before he could. "We sold the farm. Not you. We." She spoke as though my opinion had never mattered. I held up the county papers. "You forged my authority?" Ethan sighed. "It wasn't like that." "Then explain it." He rubbed the back of his neck. "You couldn't manage this place forever." "I wasn't asking forever." Claire stepped down from the porch. "This land is worth over $12 million now. Developers have been calling for years." I stared at her. "So you sold my memories for money?" She rolled her eyes. "We sold land." "No." I pointed toward the field stretching beyond the barn. "You see dirt." "I see my father's fingerprints." "You see buildings." "I see my wife's last sunset." "You see money." "I see 94 years of family." For the first time, Claire stopped smiling. Ethan stepped closer. "You'll have a beautiful house in town." "I never wanted one." "We already bought it." "You bought it? With whose money?" He didn't answer. That silence told me everything. A black SUV turned onto the driveway. Another followed behind it. A sharply dressed couple climbed out, laughing as they admired the farmhouse. The man looked around proudly. "This place is even better than the pictures." Pictures? They'd already advertised my farm. The woman smiled at me. You must be Mr. Walker. I am. We're excited to meet you. I looked at Ethan. They think this sale is real. It is, Claire said confidently. Before I could answer, another vehicle appeared at the end of the driveway. It wasn't expensive, just an old green pickup covered in road dust. It rolled slowly through the open gate before stopping beside the mailbox. The engine shut off. An elderly man stepped out wearing faded denim overalls and carrying nothing except a worn leather folder. The moment I saw his face, the breath caught in my throat. I hadn't seen that man in nearly 30 years, and if he was standing on my farm today, everything Ethan believed about this land was about to change. The old man closed the truck door and looked across the fields without saying a word. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Even the buyers stopped smiling. Then the old man looked straight at me. Jacob Walker? I nodded slowly. I never thought I'd see you here again. Neither had I. Elias? His weathered face softened. It's been too long. Claire looked irritated. Excuse me. Who is this? Elias ignored her completely. His eyes never left mine. I heard someone was trying to sell the Walker farm. I frowned. How did you hear? He lifted the worn leather folder. A phone call reached the wrong person. The buyers exchanged confused glances. Ethan folded his arms. I'm sorry, but this is private property. Elias smiled faintly. That's exactly why I'm here. Claire stepped forward. We've already closed the deal. So I've been told. She pointed toward the moving trucks. Everything's finished. Elias slowly turned toward the trucks. No. His voice remained calm. Nothing has even started. Claire laughed. I think you're confused. No, ma'am. He gently patted the leather folder. I rarely get confused. The buyer finally spoke. Sir, are you a lawyer? Elias shook his head. No. Then who are you? Before he could answer, Ethan interrupted. It doesn't matter. It matters to me, I said. Elias looked at me for a long moment. I promised your father I would stay away unless this farm was ever in danger. My heart skipped. My father? He nodded. The promise lasted 30 years. Claire sighed loudly. This is ridiculous. Ethan looked embarrassed. Grandpa, please don't do this. Do what? Create a scene. I stared at him. A scene? You sold my farm behind my back. You emptied my home. You moved your grandmother's piano. And you're worried about a scene? He looked away. The buyer shifted uncomfortably. The husband finally asked, Mr. Walker, did you actually approve this sale? I answered honestly. No. His wife's smile disappeared. She slowly lowered the folder she had been holding. Claire immediately jumped in. He gave Ethan full authority years ago. Elias spoke before I could. Authority over banking isn't authority over ownership. Claire's confidence faded just enough for me to notice. She recovered quickly. You haven't even seen the documents. Elias smiled. I don't need to. I drafted them. Silence. Complete silence. Ethan stared. What? Claire blinked twice. What did you just say? I drafted Mr. Walker's power of attorney after his eye surgery. Claire's face changed. It was intentionally limited. No land. No deeds. No transfers. No sales. The buyers looked at each other. The husband slowly removed his sunglasses. I think we should stop. Claire almost shouted. No. The sale is complete. Elias calmly reached into the folder and removed several yellowed papers. I was hoping you'd say that. He handed the first page directly to the buyer. Read the highlighted paragraph. The man read silently. His wife leaned closer. After only a few seconds, both of them looked at Ethan. You never had authority to sell this property? Ethan swallowed. Claire answered instead. The documents are outdated. Elias quietly handed over another page. Recorded 6 months ago. Claire grabbed it. Her eyes raced across the page. The color slowly drained from her face. This? She turned another page, then another. No, she whispered. This isn't possible. Elias looked at her with complete calm. It has been possible for 30 years. I stepped closer. Elias, what aren't they seeing? He looked toward the farmhouse, then toward the old windmill standing behind the barn. Finally, he answered. They believe your grandson inherited this farm. They're wrong. The afternoon breeze swept across the wheat. Every head turned toward Elias. He slowly raised one final document. The Walker farm has never legally belonged to the Walker family. No one moved. No one breathed. Even Ethan looked frozen. Claire stared at the document as if it had just erased everything she thought she knew. Then she whispered, If it doesn't belong to the Walkers. Who does? Claire laughed. That's impossible. Elias didn't even look at her. It usually sounds impossible to people who never bother reading history. He handed the document to me. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. The paper was old, much older than anything I'd ever seen connected to the farm. Across the top, in faded black ink, were 4 words, Land Conservation Agreement. I frowned. I've never seen this before. You weren't supposed to. Claire folded her arms. So now we're pretending some old paper changes everything? Elias calmly answered, No. It protected everything. The buyer stepped closer. The husband asked quietly, Can someone please explain what's happening? Elias nodded. 30 years ago, this valley was almost purchased by a mining company, and I stared at him. I remember the rumors. They weren't rumors. They offered millions. They planned to strip every acre. I looked across my fields. Back then, my father had refused every offer. He always said, Some land belongs to the next generation. Elias smiled. Your father believed that. He also believed his family might one day face pressure they couldn't resist. My heartbeat quickened. So what did he do? He transferred permanent protection of the land. Claire interrupted. To who? Elias slowly answered. To the Walker Heritage Conservancy. Silence. The buyers looked confused. Ethan frowned. I've never heard of that. You weren't meant to. It has only 3 trustees. He pointed toward me. 1 was your father. 1 was me. The 3rd, he looked directly into my eyes, became you the day your father died. I felt the blood drain from my face. What? You signed the acceptance. I don't remember. You were grieving. I never told you because your father asked me not to unless the land was threatened. Claire shook her head. This is insane. No. Elias opened another document. This is recorded with the state. The buyer quickly read the first page. His eyes widened. It says, he looked up. It says the farm can never be sold for commercial development. Claire snatched the papers. No. She flipped page after page. Her breathing became faster. This has to be fake. It isn't. It specifically blocks any sale that violates the conservation agreement. She looked toward Ethan. You told me this farm belonged to your grandfather. Ethan answered honestly. I thought it did. Elias quietly corrected him. He owns the home. He farms the land. But the land itself has been legally protected for future generations. The buyer slowly removed his wedding ring and slipped it into his pocket. His wife whispered, We almost bought something nobody could legally sell. Neither of them looked angry. They looked relieved. Claire wasn't. She walked directly toward Ethan. You said you checked everything. I did. No. She held the documents in his face. You assumed. For the first time since I'd arrived home, my grandson had no answer. Just then another truck rolled into the driveway. This one carried the county seal. A woman stepped out wearing a navy blazer. She walked quickly toward us. Excuse me. Everyone turned. I'm Rebecca Sloan from the County Land Records Office. Claire forced a smile. Perfect. You can clear this up. Rebecca looked at the documents in Elias's hands, then at me. Mr. Walker, I'm afraid there's another issue. Another issue? She opened a thin folder. This morning our office discovered someone attempted to alter historical property records. The air turned cold. The buyers exchanged another worried glance. Rebecca continued. Several digital files were accessed late Sunday night. She looked around until her eyes stopped on Ethan. Who submitted the ownership update? Ethan slowly raised his hand. I did. Rebecca nodded. And who prepared the supporting documents? Before Ethan could answer, Claire quietly took one step backward, then another. Elias noticed. So did I. Rebecca opened the final page. The login records show the submission originated from a private laptop. She looked toward Claire. The account used for that upload was registered in your name. Claire froze. For the first time all afternoon, she had absolutely nothing to say. Claire's lips parted, but no words came out. Rebecca held up a printed report. The upload wasn't completed from the county office. It was completed remotely. She looked directly at Claire. Using your personal account. Ethan turned toward his wife so slowly it almost hurt to watch. Claire, she swallowed. I can explain. No. His voice was barely above a whisper. I think I've heard enough explanations. Rebecca continued calmly. Someone uploaded scanned documents claiming Mr. Jacob Walker had approved the transfer. I frowned. I never approved anything. We know. The signatures don't match your originals. The buyer stared at Claire in disbelief. So, the husband asked, you knew he never signed? Claire shook her head violently. No. I only updated paperwork. Rebecca opened another page. You also removed the conservation agreement from the digital application. Claire's face went completely pale. You knew exactly what that document would do. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Final. Ethan slowly stepped away from her. You told me everything was legal. It was supposed to be. Supposed to be? Her confidence disappeared. I thought once the sale closed, no one would ever check. Those words echoed across the yard. Even the movers stopped working. The buyer quietly looked at his wife. We're leaving. She nodded. I don't want this farm anymore. I stepped toward them. I'm sorry. The husband shook my hand. You don't owe us an apology. He looked across the fields. This land clearly belongs with the man who loves it. They climbed into their SUV and drove away without another word. Rebecca closed her folder. Our office has already canceled every document filed this week. She looked at me. Mr. Walker, as of this moment, your farm has never legally left your possession. I closed my eyes, not because I was celebrating, because I could almost hear my wife's voice carried by the wind. Home. It was still home. Ethan walked toward me. His eyes were red. I ruined everything. I looked at the little boy I had once carried on my shoulders through these same fields. No. You almost did. He lowered his head. I'm sorry. For what? He looked up. For believing money mattered more than family. For signing papers I never read. For letting someone else think for me. Then he reached into his jacket and handed me a small envelope. Inside were every key to the farmhouse, the barn, the workshop, the grain silos. I don't deserve any of this. I closed his hand around the keys. No, you don't. His shoulders dropped. But if you spend the rest of your life becoming the man your parents hoped you'd be, one day you might. Tears rolled down his face. Claire quietly walked toward her car. No one stopped her. No one followed. She drove away alone. Months passed. The moving trucks never returned. The farmhouse echoed with peace again. One Saturday morning, Ethan showed up before sunrise wearing old work boots and worn-out jeans. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't ask about money. He simply picked up a shovel. "What are you doing?" I asked. He smiled sadly. "I'm planting new apple trees. The old ones are dying." For hours we worked side by side without speaking. As the sun began to set, he finally broke the silence. "Grandpa." "Yes?" "I spent years thinking this farm was my inheritance." I looked across the fields glowing gold beneath the evening sky. "No, it never was." He nodded. "I know. So what is?" I placed my weathered hand on his shoulder. "The chance to earn back the trust you threw away." He looked at the rows of freshly planted trees. "I'll spend the rest of my life earning it." For the first time since this nightmare began, I believed him. Because land can be protected by documents, homes can be protected by laws, but a family survives only when truth grows deeper than greed.